response.
Okay, so let's look at some of the tips that is needed in addressing crisis in your relationship and marriage. Now, as couples, there are certain things you need to consider. This is not an extensive list. We just highlight some of the few things we think you can put into play at the moment. Whether you're married, you're not even married, you're preparing for marriage, you can start preparing your mind in anticipation to this. The first thing is the use of your tone. The use of your tone. When you're talking, how do you talk? When you are communicating your pain, I'm not even talking about when you're having a nice time. When you're communicating your pain, how do you communicate your pain without having to sound rash or sound brash or sound arrogant and disrespectful to your spouse? And this is not gender specific. This is gender balance. Both parties, the male, the female, you must speak in a manner that clearly depicts what you want to say without having to insult or to talk down on the other person that you're talking to.
Yeah, just to add to that, so in communication, as a communications expert, one of the things we say in communication is that how you say what you want to say is more important than the things that you have to say. So in the heat of the moment, it's not when you use a very harsh tone to address the problem, because at that time, the person is ignorant of whatever it is you're saying. Whereas whatever you may be saying may be making sense, but the tone, the mannerism, in the pitch of your voice, the way you have said what you want to say, the person is no longer paying attention to you, as in they've zoomed out. Off. They don't switch off. There is nothing you want to say that would ever make sense. So in the heat of the crisis, it is important that you must manage the tone of your voice. If you can be as calm, in fact, if you have never been calm in your life, it is even in the moment of crisis. Yes, it may be difficult, but you have to practice it, because that is when what you have to say makes sense. Another thing, or another tip for managing crisis in relationship is that address the problem. Can we stay on the topic here? Why do you have to remember what I did 2 years ago? Why do you have to remember the fact that I don't know how to cook in the midst of the crisis? That may not even be the problem, except cooking or whatever domestic issues is the problem. Okay, we can now marry the situation together.
You're using cooking now to not look like it's the man, but funny enough, it's you women that like to read history a lot.
It's men. They will remember how is a lie. It's men. How you did not cook one food that was not sweet the other day. That salt was too much. But maybe the problem is about sex. How did now food not come into the matter?
Yes, because you need to balance.
There's nothing we're balancing there. There's nothing to balance. So please, in the heat of crisis, stay on the topic, address the issue. What is the root cause of this crisis? Why are we even having issues? It is not the time you will now remember what your spouse have done 2 or 3 years ago. It doesn't address the problem. So don't also make the person's character the problem, except that's actually the core of the crisis. So don't deviate from the topic. You do that in a lot. If you go they talk once, you go remember the one way no food. I'm like, what exactly is now the problem? Which one do we want to talk about now?
Since you chose to put it that way, let me clarify that on camera.
All right.
Now, it's not about bringing up the past. Life is in sequence. Yes. If you keep doing something in a chain of pattern, you are connecting yourself back to the past that you don't want to be reminded of.
Okay.
For instance, let me give you a practical instance now. Let's say every time I come into the kitchen when you are cooking, there's always water on the ground. I don't know how, but somehow you just enjoy being inside swimming pool. And I'm like, babe, do you know you can be cooking or you can be washing the dishes while there's a rag on the ground that can help with the water, instead of waiting till when you are done, then you want to start cleaning, and then you say, okay, I've heard you. And then the next day again, I come again, and I'm pointing at the same thing, okay, I've heard you. Next, how do you think I will not connect it back to the past? But this is something, now, the next time I will say it again, this is what I will say. I will not say, why did you not this today? I will say, but this is what you have been doing repeatedly. So that is not me, or that is not an average man trying to connect you to the past or bring in the past. That is him trying to tell you, because we think logically as men. So you have to excuse us on that. We think logically, we think in patterns, we think in sequence. So we feel like, I've been saying the same thing over and over. So I begin to connect you, but the other day, you said, I will not do this thing again. This other day, you said, so why are you still doing it today? So it's more like reminding you that you have been, so it's not like trying to drag you to the past. So if I do that, this is me explaining again why that happened. No, I said if I do that, yes, because say I'm doing that. So I'm explaining how we think as men. It's not about we trying to bring the past. No, it's different when I'm using the past to abuse you. That's a different thing, and I know that's not what you mean.
No.
But if it's me reminding you of something, the reminder is so that you understand that, madam, maybe today I don't tell you this one thing.
Yeah, so why this may even be a very minute scenario, not to disregard what you're saying. It is in these little things that we do not actually intentionally address. That's what resolves to bigger issues in the marriage. So when your attention is being called to it, is important that you address it, no matter how little it is. Another way we can also manage crisis is that take a break, but don't check out emotionally. Don't switch out emotionally. Now, break, I mean, like you may need to have a time away for yourself, for self-reflection, to actually think deep, to know what exactly is the cause of this crisis. Where am I missing it? At what point have I contributed to this crisis? So don't always, and when in that moment of break and self-reflection, don't always look at the other person. It is now about you. It is now you intentionally and genuinely telling yourself the truth. You know, one thing in life, you can deceive everybody, but it is yourself that you cannot deceive. So it's okay for you to take a break, maybe a time off, to just reflect on the issue. And even if you're 1% wrong, or you are 1%, or you've contributed only 1% to the crisis.
Who's the owner of that quote?
Who's the owner of that quote? All right, so yes, address that you're 1%, so that when you're now going back refreshed, trying to see reasons with your partner.
Yes, okay, so let me build on that. She's actually stealing my quote without crediting me.
Wahala.
Yes, because you say you're the communication expert, I'm the management expert.
Yeah, okay.
So
give
me my theory.
Right, yes.
Okay, so actually that was a lighter note. So when I say that, many times I tell my wife, if in 100% you find out that your mistake is as little as 1%, that in your eyes, it's just 1%, it's so small, it's a small thing I did. For that small thing you have done, take responsibility.
Absolutely.
Take responsibility, reflect. And when you're doing that, like she said, don't check out. Because many times, truth, babe, you ladies check out more than the men.
You can still just text your partner and say, I understand we're going through a lot, but we'll settle, we'll resolve it. So even if at that moment it may be difficult to actually say I love you.
No, why is it difficult?
Why is it difficult? Yes, because
love is commitment. Okay, don't worry. I think my new book is coming up. In our next episode, you'll be seeing my book will be up. It's finally ready. We're working on it already. By the end of this week, to be ready. The 12 habits. There are 12 habits we have discovered amongst ourselves, and also observing great couples who are power couples today. But there are 12 habits we have singled out, and we feel these are the 12 habits that are core or practical enough for you to adopt into your life. And one of them is how to be mutually submissive to each other, shared vision. You understand? There are numerous other habits. So these are some of the habits we must take. So instead of checking out, take a time out. Yes, but take it under, let me use the word, if I say permission, and they'll say, hey, men have started. No, not really permission, but let it be that you're not taking it out of walking out of the person. Exactly, mutual agreement. So that
marriage is dynamic, but we must be intentional to solve and resolve conflict. So yes, it also depends on the degree and the level of the conflict, but we must be intentional in resolving it. Another way we can also manage crisis is to get help if you need to, whether it's from your pastor, it's from therapists, it's from family members. Don't always try to manage it yourself, because like I said, it all depends on the degree and the level of the crisis. If it's something that is beyond your control emotionally, mentally, then you must seek help, either from pastors, counselors, trusted relatives, and people you know you can confide in and listen to as well.
Yes, so yes, that's very important. But I think the nature of the crisis or the challenge determines who you go to.
Yes.
And I say this with all sense of respect.
I know it's you.
I say with all sense of respect. Not every issue requires your pastor. Yes, not every issue requires a pastor, because not every pastor is trained on the issues of marriage to counsel you. And not everything is prayer point. Certain things requires prayer to address. Yes, when the matter don't pass talking with mouth, you switch to prayer. Yes, I am a very big candidate to that philosophy. But then I also believe that certain things could just mean talking to someone who is experienced on that thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be a certified counselor or somebody who is a trained. It could just be somebody who has walked that path. For instance, let's say you are going through midlife crisis as a man in your maybe late 30s, 40s, thereabout, and then the best person to talk to many times is somebody who is in their 50s and 60s, who most likely have gone through that same phase. They will now walk you through, say, from experience, this is how I did it. Everybody's story may not be the same, but with their own example, it will help.
Also draw strength.
Exactly. So I
from
think that's
it
the best
as well.
way.
So the next one is actually prayer. So we must be kingdom minded. Even in the midst of crisis, you have to pray, and you even have to be filling your prayer tank even before there is crisis. So in the heat of the crisis, you pray. It may be difficult, but you must commit that issue into the hands of God, because there is nothing too big that God cannot resolve. So pray without ceasing.
Pray without ceasing, and that's very instructive. And when they say pray without ceasing, like my wife said earlier, you don't only pray when the problem is there. As my part, you can pray in adverting issues in the future. You can pray enough that your cloud is already thick, and even when there's a crisis, it's easy for your rain to pour down. So please pray, and you don't have to have but just pray. The best way you can pray. Just keep saying the words of blessings into your marriage, speaking to your marriage, be positive. But mind you cannot be praying with a positive lip and a negative mind. Your mind and your heart must be right for your mouth to produce what you need. So don't carry a wrong mindset, but you're expecting that prayer will change everything.
The situation. Yes. Very true. Lastly on our list is don't stop doing the little things. I know this one may be very difficult or a bit dicey, because in the heat of the crisis, how do you kiss? How do you hug?
Just try to make it happen.
How do you say I love you?
Yeah, just try to make it happen. Just like I learned to practice, and it's not an easy one to do. With this my Achalugo, a wonderful woman. But sometimes when I'm not happy about something, and I see that she too, instead of her to recognize that, okay, as a woman, can I also
be the peacemaker?
She will also carry her face and be waiting for me to be the one to come and talk to her first. Sometimes when she's even wrong, she'll still wait for me. It's not nice sometimes. But for me, I would choose to prioritize the marriage, and I also feel she's taking this home today, as my guest.
Your guest.
Okay.
Well, I'm not always wrong, but yes, you always come to say you're sorry first. You always come to kiss, hug, and deflate the tension in the atmosphere.
Sometimes me too, I want you to do that.
So yeah, stop doing the little things. It may not be easy, but just try. It takes a lot of intentionality.